All right, we're here with Sean Bingham, founder and CEO of Tripio. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on the podcast here. This is exciting.
You bet. I really like what we're going to talk about today, and I think most people that have traveled will like it
I hope so.
as well. So we're recording the day before 4th of July. This will come out middle of July. But if I was going to be in a patriotic city for the 4th of July, I could use Tripio.
You could.
Like the days before or after to like really get that American experience, right?
Yeah, you could.
Let's do Philadelphia, for example. So the old way of doing it would be tourist maps, Google searches, plotting, scheming, strategizing.
Ask your friends on social media, right? Who's been here? Which, that's not a bad way. But with Tripio, you just enter your preferences into the app, and it'll give you a customized list of things to do. There's also an Explore tab that's probably our most popular. It's just quick and easy and free. You can just filter down, be like, oh, show me all the good restaurants in town. And the idea with Tripio is there's good, better, best, and our whole focus is like only the best. So like if you're in Philadelphia for 3 days, you're probably not interested in something that's just good if there's better and best that are still out there.
Yeah.
So we focus on just the best things. And so when we show you, there's probably 200 restaurants that are nice to eat at, but we're just going to show you like the top 30 because you're not going to have time to fit in any more than that. You don't even have time to fit those in. So you just enter your preferences or hit your filters, and it'll just within seconds, it'll give you a list of things to go do and see and experience. You can kind of pick and choose. It's really nice. Saves people a lot of time researching.
Very cool.
Yeah.
We were talking a little bit before we came on. I'm a horrible travel partner.
Yeah.
Because I would rather not eat and like see and experience, whereas most people are like, oh, I heard they have good cheesesteaks here or whatever. I'm like, that's fine. But it seems like if you wanted to jet off for like 3 hours on your own without being like the worst in the group, you could also just like do your own thing for 3 hours, then come back.
Yeah, totally. So it'll show you where you are on the map, within the Tripio app. You'll be like, hey, here you are. And you can say, show me things that are moderate adventure within 5 miles of me.
Yeah.
That take less than 2 hours to complete. And it'll show you immediately like what you have at your disposal, which right away in Philadelphia, one comes to mind. There's like this, it's kind of like in town, but like in a park that's in town. And it's like this old abandoned graffiti building. It's actually like kind of a cool spot to hike to and just get away from the city and see like some old kind of ruins, so to speak. So anyway, you'll find stuff like that that's like you just wouldn't find. It's off the beaten path stuff. We're still going to have like your major things. Like we're not going to miss the Liberty Bell, for instance. But we're going to help you find things that you'd have a hard time finding otherwise.
Very cool.
Yeah.
The other thing is you can change your mind real quick.
Yeah.
If you're like, oh, that wasn't as cool as I thought. Let's go more adventure.
Yep. Yeah. So you could go to more adventure. You can also leave ratings for us to kind of look at and be like, okay, maybe our team needs to reevaluate if this should even be on the app. Like if this doesn't fit, again, going back to good, better, best. If this doesn't fit in the best or at least the better category, maybe we just get rid of it altogether. And we've done that before where people would leave us a review, say, hey, look, this was like cool, but like not nearly as cool as I expected it to be. And here's why. And we've actually removed a few activities from suggestions from users.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. As long as they provide the reason why, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think this has happened to a lot of people. You come back from your trip and they're like, where were you? I was in Philadelphia. Oh, did you do this, this, and this? And you're like, no. You're like, damn it. I was just there and I obviously missed out on some
now
stuff.
you feel like you missed out or whatever. Yeah. That'll help you avoid that. Also, on the flip side of that, though, you get back from Philadelphia and someone says, oh my gosh, your trip to Philadelphia looks so amazing. Can you send me all the stuff you did? Instead of having to type out this long list on Instagram DM or text message or whatever it is, you can just hit the link from the trip you created on our app and hit share, and it'll just send them your exact itinerary that you did while on the trip, which is kind of cool. So
Very cool.
Yeah, it makes sharing easier as well.
Where did this idea come from?
So I had done a company prior to this called Adventure Hunt. In fact, our offices were just across Center Street here.
Oh, nice.
Which makes it even more hilarious that I got lost getting here. But yeah, so we had a company called Adventure Hunt. We were actually on Shark Tank for it, which we can get into later if you want.
Yeah.
And it was like a scavenger hunt on steroids or like a mini Amazing Race. And so we would kind of go throughout the country, even into other countries like Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the UK. And we would set up these really fun treasure hunts. And through our app, people would team up and then they would solve clues and complete challenges that would kind of guide them around town to a buried treasure chest. So I was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, setting up one of these. No offense to anybody that might be listening that's from Albuquerque, but it's not the most exciting city in the world. And so it kind of took a little bit of extra effort to kind of find cool stuff to put on this scavenger hunt. And it took me a few days. And I remember I was by myself, and I'm in Old Town, Albuquerque. And I'm done testing everything. I've plotted everything out. I've now run the full test to make sure it's working properly for when the race starts, in a few days. And I say out loud to myself, Albuquerque sure isn't the best city there is, but if anyone were to come here, I sure did put together a pretty great 2-day itinerary. And I was like, wait, that's what I should be doing. I should be putting together itineraries because I love to travel. I've been traveling my whole life. I've been to over 60 countries. I've always felt like there needs to be a better way to find the cool stuff to do and see and experience. People fall into the same tourist traps all the time. I was in it was Yangshuo, China. I'm probably pronouncing that name wrong, but it's near Guilin, China. It's a really cool town. And there's just signs everywhere to do this mud cave, billboards, advertisements. We did at the time post on our Facebook, hey, we're in Yangshuo. What should we do? Right. Immediately someone says, you got to do the mud caves. And I'm like, okay, I guess we go do the mud caves. So we go do these mud caves. It was the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. It was a complete waste of time. It was like the cave was amazing. And then they had ruined it by majorly commercializing it, shops in there. And then the mud part of it, this mud bath, was completely man-made. It was like a clearly man-made cemented tub that they had filled up with dirt and water and just made it mud. And then they have you hop in and make you take these awkward photos trying to pretend you're having fun. Me and my buddy were just like, hey, look, this is not at all what we thought it was, not what we were expecting, not what we wanted.
Yeah.
So no offense to you, we appreciate your time, but we would like it if you could just take us out of the cave now, So we leave early. And I remember in that moment too, just being so between that Albuquerque experience and this, this China experience, I was just like, there's just got to be a better way. There's got to be a better system out there. I was in Hawaii once trying to hike, do this certain hike. It's actually Sacred Falls, which is, closed technically, but I knew there was a way to do it. And so hard to figure out how to get there, which I guess is what they want. But I thought there's just got to be a better way. So between all these travel experiences and then the light bulb going off and that adventure hunt set up in Albuquerque, I just was like, okay, now I finally understand how to do it because I'd been plotting things for these adventure hunt races for so long in different cities. All the ideas just came together in that moment of how to make the travel experience better for people like me, So Anyway, yeah.
I love it. And if you go to a place that doesn't speak your language, it gets even a little bit trickier.
Yeah.
Because you can always ask locals and get lucky.
Yep.
On some good stuff. But if you've got that barrier. So is Paris or Rome on?
Yeah. Yeah. We've got over 200 destinations. We've definitely got all the hot spots like Paris and Rome for sure. Yeah.
How do you guys decide the good or the best?
The good, better, best. Yeah.
Good or better, best.
So we have a team of what I call gurus. They're the travel gurus. And they're very experienced travelers. They know what they're doing just by themselves, on their own. But then we've got a pretty heavy training they go through on how to find the best stuff. We've got great resources. So all the work that you would put in to planning a trip to Paris, which can be upwards of 30, 40 hours for a lot of people when you start to determine, all the different places you want to eat at, all the different sites you want to see, the different adventures you want to have. They take all of that time plus even more to go through all these different resources and that you would go through and then start plotting things within the app. So we'll ask locals. Oftentimes the gurus have either already been there or they lived there, but we're always asking advice of those that have. So if I were to research out a city that I didn't live in, but maybe I'd visited once or twice, I'd have a really good start from my own visits. But then I would start asking people in the area, oftentimes just we'll DM them through Instagram. So we're basically doing all the research for people. That's kind of the idea. So there's a team of gurus and they're just full-time researching things out and importing them into the app. And then it goes through a peer review. And then one of their peers will review it and give them a bunch of feedback. And so I feel like we've got it honed in pretty good, but we're always making improvements.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And how do you guys monetize it?
So there's a few different ways. The number one way that we're focused on right now is people upgrading to Tripio Pro. So are you familiar with All Trails, like the hiking app? Okay. So it's very similar to that where the app's free to download. Most of the features are free. But if you want to get some of the more robust, customized itineraries and things like that, in-app turn-by-turn directions, you can do collaborative trip planning. So if you and I were going to go on a trip together, I could add you to my itinerary, and then we could both simultaneously be editing and adding to the same itinerary within the app. So some of those more robust features, it's called Tripio Pro, and there's a subscription, and it's $30 for a year. Or if you want to pay monthly, it's $9.99 for a month, and you get a free week trial on that as well. So we don't even mind if people want to try it out for their week vacation in Hawaii and like start the trial right when they arrive. Go for it. Cancel before you get charged at the end of the week. Fine by us. We're pretty convinced though that if people use it, they'll be hooked and they'll stick. So the number one way is upgrades to Tripio Pro. Another way is we do get commissions through people booking things through our app. So if one of my favorite things to do on the Big Island of Hawaii is the manta ray night dive or night snorkeling. You go out on these boats and they shine these bright lights into the water, and it attracts all the plankton to the lights, and then the plankton attract the manta rays to you. And so you're just hanging onto this rig, staring at these massive manta rays. It's an amazing tour. And I did it once by myself. You don't have to do a tour if you don't want. And I did it once that way where I just jumped off the rock, and swam out to the spot and had my own little light. And it was cool, but not nearly as cool as the tour.
Yeah.
So when a tour is worthy of being on the app, we'll put it on there. And then if you click our button and book, then we get a commission from that. So that's another way. We have a blog. In fact, we just did a blog of the best places to do 4th of July celebrations, and the blog has ads on it. So there's a variety of different ways we monetize it. Some businesses will even pay to be featured, in the app. If we think we always make sure they're worthy of being there.
Yeah.
We're never going to give up on that. I'm very, very, I want to make that clear to everybody listening. I'm very, very hardcore strict on no, we are not here to just be another garbage trip advisor where it's here are the top 10 ways we can make money off of you. We want to give you truly the best things to do. But if something fits in that category where it's hey, this is actually one of the best, but if you want to rise above the others and be able to kind of curate your own profile page within our app, then you can pay to be featured. So some businesses will pay to be featured as well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Lots of ways to skin the cat.
Yeah.
You ever watched Rick Steves?
I have, yeah, and he's done some awesome stuff. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
You're kind of the younger version of him, right?
Yeah.
He's in it to win it, thousands of episodes, but it's really good stuff.
Yeah.
And anytime I travel with a group where it's not going to be edgy and weird, it's always a Rick Steves.
Yeah.
But it's kind of good that he's in his twilight years, I would assume, because this kind of replaces him pretty quick.
Yeah, yeah. His stuff's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely kind of more a little old school, I would say, but it's amazing stuff. I've looked at his stuff, I've used his stuff. We'll even now, some of our gurus will use his stuff to kind of see what he's got, when we research out an area. So yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can't replicate that much travel, and he clearly loves it.
Yep.
And they do such a good job. How do you guys decide? You mentioned it was 100, 200 places that you guys have.
Yeah, it's 200 and 230. I'd have to look, but yeah.
How do you decide?
Mid-200s.
New cities, is it? Because there's some pretty small towns that you could spend 3 days in.
I know. And it's this never ending process, right? So we've hit all the major hotspots. So if you were to go through and start naming European cities, chances are we've got them. All the US cities that are even remotely big, we've got them. So now we're kind of going off of what people suggest. Mm-hmm. So we've got a thing in the app where people can suggest destinations to us. And when they do, we're just cool, we're working on that one now. And sometimes it's just one person suggests it, and we'll just write them back and be we're on it. Give us a week or so,
Yeah.
So if people have suggestions that are listening to this, watching, whatever, we're very open to them, because we're always trying to find, for instance, those small towns that maybe we haven't even heard of.
Yeah.
We can go spend a week researching it and plot it all in the app.
Yeah, because you could if you drive across America, there's the 5,000 to 10,000 person towns.
Yep.
But you've got a lot of historical Western stuff, obviously pioneers, and
yep.
And you pull off, and it's I'm going to hopefully get lucky, and maybe there's going to be a cool museum, and then I can go on a 1 hour.
Yep.
But imagine if you guys had that, and people could do that in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
One, it would be probably, an extra bit of revenue for the museums and, these kind of sleepy
yep.
parts. But you never Wild Bill Hitchcock stayed here.
Yeah.
That type of stuff.
Yep.
Which is cool.
Yep, totally. Yeah, so we are now into that phase of like, okay, we've got all the major cities and we've got quite a few smaller ones, but I'm learning more and more about these little towns where it's like, shoot, this is a never-ending project, you know? So yeah, it's fun.
Good spot to be in. You mentioned Shark Tank.
Yeah.
What a good opportunity, win, lose, or draw, right?
Yeah, yeah.
How long ago was it? And
so it was 5 years ago. So funny story, we actually filmed it was like 14 months or 16 months we filmed before it actually aired. So it aired 5.5 years ago, January of 2019, but we filmed it in the end of 2017. So it was like 16-month wait. And again, I was in that office right across the university here when we did all that. But it was for Adventure Hunt. We got to deal with Robert Herjavec. It was an amazing experience. The publicity you get, the notoriety, whatever you want to call it, just kind of the brand equity that's built from that is remarkable. So people ask me quite a bit like, oh, is it worth it? And it's like, it's like a total no-brainer. Yeah. I've tried to get on for Tripio. They've said they don't love having repeat on. They've already had us on for a couple of additional episodes for Adventure Hunt, like follow-up episodes. We did one during COVID because COVID like annihilated us. It was like an entire business built around getting large groups of people together, you know? So
thank you.
We didn't actually do super hot during COVID, which is kind of what pushed me towards finally starting Tripio. But they had us on then. So they've just told me like, hey, look, we'll consider it, but we try to not have people that have already been on multiple episodes for a previous company. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, totally worth it. It's an amazing experience and I loved it.
Cool. Yeah. So he was on the cap table and everything.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, so Robert Herjavec is on the cap table. He's the 4th largest owner of Adventure Hunt.
I love it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
There's us 3 founders and then him. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
How long did it take to record? Like, is it
long? Yeah, it's like, it's a pretty cool experience. So you fly out there. First off, the whole time they tell you, you might not actually get on the show. Like, no matter what we say, just know that you're not guaranteed anything. And I was like, okay, like we've only dedicated our life to this for the last 6 months because you keep telling us stuff to do to be on the show, you know? Yeah. So they make it clear you might not make it on. Even when you're out there, they've flown you out there. They've put you up in a hotel and they say, okay, we're going to have you pitch in front of the producers. And if we don't like it, you're going to get sent home. And we're like, holy crap, like this is crazy, you know? Yeah. But everything went well for us. And they don't tell you when your record timing is. And they have like a hotel for all the entrepreneurs that are about to pitch and then a separate hotel for those that have just finished pitching because they don't want you to talk to each other after you've pitched, you know? So you actually move hotels after you pitch. You stay one more night and then you go home.
Oh, wow.
But so we were the very last ones to pitch. So we had to sit in our hotel for like 3 days, just kind of like waiting for them to call us and say when our call time was, you know? Mm-hmm. But I kind of liked it. I actually didn't like it, but looking back, I'm glad it happened because it gave me a ton of time to just like continue to prepare and practice. And we had, we tried once going out going out in the city, and I just was out there and I was like, this is just not what I came out here for. Like I came out here to nail this pitch on Shark Tank. And so I'm just going to hunker down and just keep practicing and studying and rehearsing and everything. So by the time I went into it like extremely confident that we were going to get a deal because I knew that our pitch was solid. I knew that our business was cool and unique. And I knew that we had good numbers. We had done about almost $1 million in revenue at that point. So we weren't like some brand new, idea of a business. We were like a functioning business that was profitable. And so I just knew I'm a good salesman. I knew we were going to get a deal. And so we did. And, you walk down the hallway, where you see them walking down the thing, the doors open. You've got this cameraman kind of backpedaling in front of you, as you're walking down the hallway. And that was like really nerve wracking. They've got these little X's, these little tape marks on the floor where you're supposed to stop and start your pitch. And you get there and you've got your memorized, kind of first minute and a half of cheesiness that they make you do.
Yeah.
And I was super nervous through the first part of that. But the second, we got into the actual, now we're just talking and pitching, I was like as calm and confident as I've ever been. And my brother and I were the two that pitched, and we had a couple of helpers kind of demonstrate some things, but it was awesome. Yeah, it was super awesome. On our panel was, so obviously Robert Herjavec, they had just started doing the guest sharks, which has become a kind of a staple of the show now. But Bethany Frankel, you know who she is. She started she was on, I think she got famous through the Real Housewives of New York, but she started the Skinny Girl brand, if you've seen that, I think they do like food and clothes and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, she was the guest shark. And then Lori was on there. Mark Cuban was on there. And then Damon John. So those were our 5 sharks. And Bethany made us the first offer, and she offered quick too. So we were like super chill after that, because I was like, okay, we got an offer already, like we're not total failures. Yeah. And then Robert offered second, and but total, that was like I think I just gave a 5-minute answer to your question of how long did it take. It was like a 2.5, 3 hour pitch, and then they condensed it down to 11 minutes. Yeah. So yeah. And
you gotta, I assume the real valuations and the real deals happen afterwards.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you can feel it when you're on there. Like, I remember just being pitching, and I was like, okay, this is entertainment first and like a business deal second.
Yeah.
And you can feel it. Like, I was like, you're not walking off stage to some big check like you just won a golf tournament, you walk off stage and you get to start talking to their attorneys and their accountants, and
the worst part.
Yeah. So we went into due diligence phase for several months, and but we did end up closing the deal.
Good.
So, yeah.
And was there any like good advice, good counsel, good connections, open networks, anything that came?
Yeah. When it first, when we first launched, or when we first did the deal rather with Robert, they were pushing us pretty hard towards doing corporate events. And at the time, Adventure Hunt was pretty focused on like public events. So anyone could pay a registration fee, and it was like a traveling Saturday event, like a color run or a Tough Mudder type of thing, where you get together with your friends. And Robert pushed us pretty hard to like start looking at corporate events and, doing more B2B sales. And so 2019, again, it aired in January of 2019. 2019 was like by far our most profitable year ever. I would say because of Shark Tank. The exposure we got, but then on top of that, we did shift our focus pretty heavily to the B2B sales, and it was so much better that we like kind of wanted to stop doing the regular ones altogether. And then COVID hit and dragged on, and it's kind of been a different story since then. But yeah.
So the sharks know a thing or two.
They do. Yeah. They
that's
do.
Kind of that's what they do for fun, is like grow businesses and all
that.
that.
Yeah. And he's got a team. So people always ask how much we dealt with him specifically. We actually didn't talk with Robert too much. We did, like I've got his phone number and stuff, I can call him if I want. But for the most part, we dealt with his team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
people that are just good at making more money on.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I love this idea. I love that you and your team have hit upon something that ultimately will just save a bunch of time for people and ultimately put more smiles on their face.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys are making money and building a business, but I just picture all these tourists like having a much better experience, which is pretty cool.
No, and that is truly the goal. Like I always tell people, I don't know if you know how GoPro started, but it was just a surfer that wanted to get a better shot of himself in the barrel of the wave. Like he just wanted it for himself. And before he knew it, he had $1 billion company, And while we are very far from being $1 billion company, that is kind of the goal. And it's just because I'm trying to solve my own problem in traveling. I just wanted to have a better, quicker way to find the coolest stuff. And so I thought, well, let's just create it and see what we come up with,
Yeah. Because there's a lot of cool things on this planet.
Yeah.
And you can't do it the old fashioned way and see them all. You gotta have this force multiplier. Well, thank you so much, Sean, for joining. Really appreciate it. Look forward to what you guys roll out there in the future.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.